in terms of there being no delay between when the recording actually starts. Okay, guys. Hey, we're live. And
Woo!
I'm going to take that off. All right. So welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday night here on Live Long and Podcast, and that means we're talking about Star Trek, the original series, as we continue our Ted Trek podcast series, rewatching all of those original Star Trek episodes with my dad, Ted, and other great esteemed panelists, Jody Simpson, Adam Woodward, and my brother Jeff when he's awake. So let's say hello to those who have arrived so far for this Wednesday night rewatch of Space Seed. Let's first go over to Jody. Jody, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing well. This was a good one tonight. And
this wasn't a painful episode to watch. Let's put it that way.
No, this is a good one. And over to my dad, Ted. Dad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah. So we know that Adam is probably running a little bit late. He'll be along in a little bit, and Jeff, we're not sure about, but we can talk about this episode. Let's get into it. So, we've mentioned we're talking about Space Seed, which is the 24th episode of the first season of original series, aired in 1967, and it is the debut of the Khan character, Khan Noomian Singh. That would go on to be, of course, the Wrath of Khan, the second Star Trek motion picture, widely considered to be the best. Even though we did do a rewatch series here on Live Long and Podcast, and we determined that Star Trek 6 was better. But Star Trek 2 is still a very good movie. The only, I think, television character that gets reused in the movies, at least for original series. You guys don't hear that, do you?
Nope.
Don't hear anything. What am I supposed to be hearing?
Oh, here you go. I think you need to hear it too. Jeff, static.
Oh, that's bad. I think you're on the wrong mic.
You're on the wrong mic, Jeff.
Oh,
I just muted him. I just muted him for a second.
Oh, okay.
Because it was bad.
Technical difficulties.
All right, let's try now. Okay, it's gone.
Test.
Yeah.
Oh, much better.
You're good. Okay, Jeff.
XLR.
Welcome.
Hey.
We're talking about Space Seed, Jeff.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. It's like you surprised. We are?
No, I watched it. I just watched it. Just finished watching it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, I think Adam has joined us. Hello, he's there. Hold on. Let's get Adam in here.
Oh, there he is.
Hey guys.
Hello. All right, we got all five of us here now. Where did Jeff go? Oh,
Well, you only can put 4 on, right?
No, but he's also. Oh, there he is. I see him. Okay. No, I see him. Okay. So we're all here. So now that we can only have 4 on screen at one time, so we are going to talk about Space Seed now that all of us are here, or sort of. It's
a good thing the episode isn't a train wreck like this thing is so far.
No, it's all good.
Yep.
It's all good. So let's talk about this. So we said that this is the debut of Khan. Dad, you picked this episode, so I want to talk to you first. Why did you pick this one for this week? What and is this one of your favorite episodes?
Yeah, this was kind of a classic episode, and like you said, it was rekindled later on in a movie, Star Trek 2, I guess you said. So it was kind of like one of the epic Star Trek episodes that was given further life. So it's a good one.
In 2 movies, actually.
Well, technically, yeah, there's a second movie with the Khan character, but that's the reboot movies. But let me ask you this, Dad, before the movie Wrath of Khan, Was this episode super popular? Were you aware of it?
I found it was, yeah. It was a pretty good one because it looked pretty grim there for a while for Kirk and the boys. It wasn't looking too fine, wasn't looking too fine for them. They were in a lot of trouble, but and against this superior race who took over. Luckily, they didn't really know that much about starships, so they kind of let their guard down a bit, and Kirk and Spock regained control.
Well, they didn't realize that Kirk would just think to beat Khan to the floor with a pipe, but it was they missed it because Khan crushes that phaser in front of him, but then
yeah,
but it just shot Kirk. I don't get it.
It was quite the battle, quite the little fight they had, but
But we'll get into that.
Couldn't crush the pipe apparently.
Yeah,
no.
But for those of us who were not alive in 1982 when Wrath of Khan came along, which I guess is just Jeff and I, when Wrath of Khan came along, which was the sequel to this episode,
right?
What did you go? Wow, they brought Khan back.
Yeah. We remember. I remembered Khan from the original series, and so when they brought Khan back, because he was kind of left out on some planet and just forgotten. So when he brought him back, it was like, oh, that guy. Yeah. Oh yeah, we know who this guy is. So yeah, it wasn't a surprise.
Wasn't a surprise. He was welcomed. Okay, and maybe Adam can help answer this too because again, older than me. Was Ricardo Montalban like a huge star?
My wife and I were talking about that last night. We were trying to figure out. He was on Fantasy Island.
Yes.
He was Mr. Rourke, right?
In the 70s, right?
I don't know. I guess it was the 70s, early 80s. Friday night.
Yeah, it was the 70s.
Yeah, but like watching Space Seed last night was a good episode. Great storyline. Probably one of the best ones I've seen in a couple of weeks, right? But your question about Wrath of Khan, I remember going to Wrath of Khan. I was like 10 or 11. My mom took my friends and I, and we had to sit, together, and she sat behind us in the theater at Burlington Mall, actually. And that was my reintroduction into Star Trek, I think, or really, the love of Star Trek began with that movie. But having seen Wrath of Khan probably about 50 or 60 times in my life now, whenever it's on. So, but he played that character in both, 1968 and then again in 1982, just fantastic. Like, he was great.
Yeah, he's really good in both of in this episode and of course in the movie. And what I was trying to kind of, maybe this is better. I don't know if Dad knows the answer to this or not, but like when he guest starred on this episode in 1967, I guess, was he like a famous person already?
I wouldn't say he was in some movies, but I wouldn't say he was famous.
Okay.
He didn't have a show other than in that movie. But he was known in movies, but no, I didn't know him. I mean, to me, that was my first episode with him.
All right, and I think I keep asking because I'm like, this guy's great. Like
he was the star in Mexico, but not here. That's my understanding.
And we didn't watch much Mexican TV back in those days.
I would assume not.
No, I don't watch it these days.
But he would have been at the height of his career at that point, because if Fantasy Island started in 77, then in 82, he would have been really popular at that point, because that was a big show. Like, I remember my mom talking about it.
Him and the little guy. What was the little guy's name?
Oh, can't remember now.
Tattoo on the show.
Tattoo.
That's it.
Yeah, Tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah, I just trying to because he is great in this episode. And the premise. Let's talk about just the whole episode overall, guys, because Jody, you said you like this. I guess the only one we haven't really talked to about it yet, just overall, is Jeff, and he keeps dropping on and off. So if you notice the movies here, but Jeff, Space Seed.
Yes.
I want to hear from you. What do you got to say about this episode?
I enjoy it. It's a good episode right through. It's got a great premise. There's not too much Kirk in it, which I think makes it a lot better. It makes it stand out that way for me. That like there's a lot going on with Madeline Rue or whatever her character's name
Marla
is.
McGivers.
She's the worst part of this whole episode.
Well, I think she brings something to the episode that is needed. Like I don't know, like it's just kind of a day in the life of a lieutenant you'd never met, and then all of a sudden she's like stuck in the situation, and
Well,
I don't know. I thought it was a good trope.
so the only complaint I have about her character is the fact that why would they need a historian on a ship that's going out into a place where they have no idea what's going on? Why do you need an Earth historian for that?
For that very reason, that they find something and they have to go back and get some history.
That's to
you know,
quote the
it's-
younger generation. That's weak sauce.
No,
that's pure anyway.
Well, that's why there's history in general. It's the
You don't
Look
bring
back and find out if
historians
there's a
to
connection.
go find new things. Like,
well that too, but
I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
Maybe that's
I
true.
think that
I think there's
Kirk's
a lot of
thrilled.
historians.
Kirk is thrilled
Sorry,
that the
Dave?
historian has something to do.
well, that's kind of my point. Like, they even say it in the episode. Like, she's bloody useless. Like, why is she here? Like,
She's painting all her paintings, doing all her paintings.
oh, that's great.
Just in case
She's taking
they
up a spot
find
that they could have another security officer that they go through all the time. You know,
I think that if they had called her an anthropologist, it would have been different.
I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthropologist makes more sense.
Right. Because
Or
I
at least
mean,
kind of. Yeah.
the what's the same about all kind of cultures and all that stuff. But you're right. They didn't. They called her historian, Earth historian.
Yeah.
well, she did have something to do here. They found an old Earth ship, and so it was appropriate.
No, but why do you have that?
Oh, what was the odds?
Just in
Like,
case they
come
run
on.
into an old Earth ship
Like,
or an old Earth.
When they
thing.
were thinking about setting out into space, they're like, okay, you know what? We need a historian. And somebody probably went, why? And then the answer was, well, I don't know. We just need a historian.
Okay,
Like-
well, just think of some of the last episodes we've covered in these weeks that we've been on here. We've been Nazi Germany. We've been back to NASA sending shot. We've covered
Good point, Ted.
the gangsters
Good
in
point.
Chicago with the bombs.
All right.
Greece.
Like there's lots of it. There's lots of history.
yeah, they got way
everywhere.
more to do than we think.
We
All
just
right,
ignored
I'll
the
give you
guy.
that one, Ted.
Yeah,
I'll give
Ted,
you
that's a good point.
Star Trek's the only show where they go to all these different alien planets, but somehow it always ends up still being Earth.
Yeah.
Well, that's called
Yeah,
budget.
exactly. Well, they had the book from Chicago somehow that was gangsters.
Right. It was always just a different excuse.
At least in Next Gen, they were like, let's just check the computer. They didn't have no damn historian. They're like, computer will tell us what 1950s Chicago is going to be like.
Yeah.
You know,
Next
Yeah.
Gen would not have
Always.
done that. Next Gen, if they were going to do that, they would have done Q, and then Q would have made sense through Q.
why are we hearing Andy
Um,
Griffith show?
Me too.
My ringtone, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, that
like-
really dates you a bit there, Adam.
It makes me happy.
Okay,
Andy
that's good.
Griffith show.
I don't think he was around for. You were
Yeah.
around. Like
I don't
Andy
think-
Griffith's shows.
No, I
people-
was not around for the Andy Griffith show.
He
Yeah,
was
I didn't
definitely not
even,
around for that.
That's older
He
than
runs
Dad.
Yeah, that would have been.
I
hard
wasn't
for your
around
dad
for
to even
that.
remember.
No,
Yeah,
not
Even
quite.
before
Not
your
quite
time.
that.
That's not quite the golden. That was the silver age of TV. Then.
I seen the Dick Van Dyke show, I think, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well,
That
let's
was
get
done
into
at noon.
Anyway, Star Trek podcast.
Star Trek Space Seed. They find this old Earth ship, guys, to start the episode, the DY-100 class from 1990s.
Anybody
And-
else get a sub feel on this one?
Yeah,
Yeah, very
basically
much.
it looks like
Basically, it's a
U571.
submarine.
It's like U571 in space.
Yeah.
and I'm
The
like,
Botany Bay.
how does that work? And then they have all these like cryo tubes. I'm like, how does that happen in 1996?
And actually, Ted just brought that up, and that's a perfect thing that as I watched the episode, and I never really noticed it before, and I've seen this episode a bunch of times, but I watched it again because I'm like, just want it to be fresh. But anyway, they actually bring up the fact that it's called the Botany Bay, and the first thing he says is, "Oh, well, that was like a penal colony." And it's like, well, why aren't we putting 2 to 2 together here? Like, at this point, we know there's a problem.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Spock and Kirk don't seem too like
they're
worried
totally
about
oblivious
Khan.
to it. Yeah,
But
they're like,
yeah.
oh, isn't that cute? They named it after a penal colony.
That's why they need the historian.
It'd be like if like Hitler somehow got away, got into a frozen tube, shot into space, and then Kirk and them found Hitler all those years later, and they were like, "Who's Hitler?" You know?
Yeah. Well, no, it'd be more like they'd be like, that guy looks a lot like Hitler, and he calls himself Hitler. Anyway, I'm
Right.
sure he's a great guy.
Yeah, he seems good. We're gonna wake up all his Nazi buddies, all
Yeah,
72.
we're gonna wake them all up. It'll be fine.
Right. But
No
just on
problem.
that.
They're
like,
doing this funny thing with their arms, but past that, it's all good.
Yeah.
in the
like,
city on the edge of forever, Spock figured out, back in the era of Hitler, that they had to, find that Edith Keeler must die.
his camera's changed. You guys seen that?
Again, they got to know their history.
I don't see a camera. I just see.
I
the
just see his
background.
nameplate, and then
Yeah.
a part of the Enterprise.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can hear him though.
No, I think his internet just dropped. Okay. So.
All right.
Maybe? I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Anyway,
So yeah, they find this old ship. Yeah, I guess but how much do maybe not Jeff, because Jeff is a history major, but how much do you know
Absolutely.
about Napoleon, really? Or how much do you know about these other, or even like Caesar?
well, we all know
you know.
certain things about history, right? Now, obviously, Jeff has the advantage here because he's clearly trained in this.
Right,
but-
but even any historian will only study a certain.
That's right.
So,
They don't know everything. They just know, whatever their specialty in their field is, and or whatever they were interested in reading. Like, I know a lot about World War II, but I'm not a historian. It fascinates me, so I read tons about it, right? But it's the whole historian angle thing was kind of stupid. I don't really get why they even bothered with it. It wasn't really needed, and that the character itself is just not likable at all, in my opinion. Like there was points where I'm like, I hope he decks her. And I've seen this episode like 20 times now, and I'm still like, maybe he'll give her a good backhand.
But no,
she's
Uhura got the backhands.
Yes,
I know.
But you have to admit that character wasn't boring.
She wasn't boring, no.
No, she was she
that's
was
true.
into Khan at the beginning, and then she was like wrestling over it.
And then it turns
she-
into kind of a an abusive relationship kind of thing with her, and I
Right.
get that.
Yeah, and she was trying to
I
be
think
like the go.
Oh, did we lose him too?
Well, it's not.
Jeez,
letting
we're
me put-
losing everybody today.
It's not letting me put more than one of you in the stream at a time. One sec. Hold on.
Weird. Can we get Jeff back? Jeff, are you still there? Can you hear us?
I was always
There we go.
here. He just
Yeah, even though you can't see the person, you can still hear them.
he booted me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
I-
I can.
I'm try-
I can
I
hear
was-
Ted.
But you couldn't until a second ago because he was starting to talk and I could only hear him.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah,
I
because
just
I
had to-
couldn't hear him.
I had to correct for that. So
Anyway, we're having technical issues. Oh well, it happens.
but Dad, everyone should be able to hear you now.
Perfect.
I can hear him.
So this episode, though, I have to say, McCoy looked really kind of different on this episode. He at the beginning, especially, he looked really like kind of really short hair, and he didn't like going in a transponder or not a trans. What's it called?
Transporter.
Transporter. He didn't like going in the transporter. He didn't like his atoms sparkled across space. It was like he never
It was
did
the
that before.
sparkling he objected to mostly, I think.
Yeah.
But if we look back into season 1 with McCoy to begin with, he's not far off from what he always was.
yeah, maybe not.
Like
maybe
he's kind of pissy and kind of gravelly and doesn't really want to be where he usually is. He's an introvert, I think. He'd just rather be in his quarters and doing nothing.
Wow.
So-
He did get a knife pulled to his throat in this episode. so-
He handled that. He handled that great.
But he like the balls on that man. He's like, well, if you're gonna slit me, do it under my left ear because that's more efficient, right there.
Yeah.
It's like he's even telling the guy how to do it. Like he doesn't give a shit.
Khan knows how.
There was some really, really well written dialogue and scenes in this episode.
agree.
And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they had this great actor and this great adversary to play off of. And Star Trek, maybe this is the first time they learned that that could be really exciting. I think, and I think we see a lot of that tropes later. Gul Dukat to me is like the Khan of D6 9.
Mhm.
And and I think that trope gets carried over and is still great with other actors doing almost the same kind of thing.
Well, the thing that I found interesting was when you go through the whole episode, like you start off not really you don't really care about Khan one way or the other, and then you kind of care about him, and then you don't care about him, and then you care about him again. It's like, and then when you get to the end of the episode, you're like, was he really that bad of a dude? Like, it's like, for me,
yes, but he's also, it's like that admiration phase where, like, that scene where they're all sitting around the boardroom saying, like, well, he's kind of neat, and he was like the most benevolent of the evil dictatorship supermen. And like I said earlier, Khan had so many chances to actually kill.
Oh yeah,
Kirk, right.
Like, if he wanted to, half the crew would have already been dead. Like,
right.
It's
even when he crushes that phaser instead of using the phaser.
By the way, that special effect was terrible. He literally doesn't even look like he breaks it. It looks like he's just holding it. It's just trying to like break it, but it doesn't break. So he's like,
anyway,
okay.
You remember when he was in the coma on the Enterprise, and McCoy is describing him, and he's saying, he has the strength of in one arm to lift us.
Yeah, he could lift both of us up. Yeah.
So I think that stage was set that not only the mental was there, but certainly the power. But he not only that, he looked great. The costuming that they chose for Khan in this episode was really good. Like it, and again, it continued in the movie. But the chest with clearly waxed and all that. But he looked great.
Yeah. Where did he get all that Indian clothing?
Right. Well, here we see, this is how they find Ricardo Montalban as Khan Noonien Singh in the sleeper ship here. And he's wearing like this like gold mesh thing to start, but he doesn't wear that very long. But that's what the females will, like the female superhumans that they'll wake up near the end wear. And then of course he's got the chest, as you were talking to, Adam. Displaying that right for Kirk. He's like, look at my chest. You can't match this.
And Kirk's a little turned on. And he's like, okay, this is getting to a point where you have more sex appeal than me, and that can't be allowed. You only get one.
There's only room for one of us on this ship.
I almost felt like there was a little bit of a gay vibe going on there. Like there was a little bit of Kirk wanted to be either him or be in him.
It looks like he's opened up that shirt. That's what it looks like. It looks like he's purposely.
What we probably didn't see is where Kirk actually ripped open his shirt,
right.
And then it went to that area. I think that's actually what happened.
Kirk, this is where Kirk's like, "Why don't I rip my shirt open enough?" Or at least Shatner.
And Adam right now is thinking, "I kind of regret things now."
I wanted.
Maybe I should be on this.
I still regret Miri Jody.
Miri.
What's that?
The episode Miri.
Oh, that is awful. Awful episode.
Such a strange episode.
He probably did want in his contract. He wanted some shirtless scenes, and that's why we get that.
What about that yellow suit he had on, Dave?
I don't have that one queued up as a picture.
I have it if you need it.
Okay,
I can
bring it up. I also I also have this one, which is the painting that MacGyver has of him. Here we go. Where'd you go, Jeff? There you are.
The yellow suit was kind of cool.
Yeah, like this thing he wears to the dinner party.
Yeah.
This was a neat thing. Where again, bare chest.
He's fucking badass. Like, look at him.
He looks awesome. Like,
how old was he at this time?
I would say he's probably in his 30s.
No, he's got to be older than that.
I don't know.
Born in 1920, so he was.
He was born in 1920. Yeah,
he was
about 47. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty old actually. For you.
Holy shit, he held out pretty good. 89, he died. Like he died when he was 89 years old.
When he died, not in 89.
No, he died in 2009.
Right, and then later on we see here. This is the one. While we're talking about just pictures of Khan, the painting by MacGyver's with the turban. Do you guys find it weird to see a Sikh without a beard?
Yeah.
Well, if you know Sikhs, you would know that shouldn't be happening.
He looks like an Iranian Ayatollah.
Yeah, because Sikhs always have beards.
He looks like a nun to me.
Unless there's the odd Sikh that can't grow.
But like Khan is Indian, is that right? Like, is that where he's from? India?
He's supposed to be, from India.
Right. He's supposed to be from India, but he's
unless he's played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Why in the hell was he played by Benedict Cumberbatch?
Great.
Because Star Trek Trainwreck, or better known as Into Darkness, is a terrible movie.
Jody.
What more do you want?
We're killing Adam here.
Dude, it's terrible.
No, that's another conversation we'll have to
No,
have.
I think it's pretty
We've
good.
already
that
had
movie.
this conversation on this channel.
Listen,
I think it's good, Adam. I'm with
Don't
you.
make me get Dave to bring up the stats on this.
Dad, you have not watched Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah?
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
And when Spock yelled Khan, you felt good about that?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. So
It almost sounded like he was trying to like catch him in a lie or something. He's like, so when Spock said this.
yeah, I don't even know if he's seen it, but maybe he has.
No, he
Okay.
never said
He
that.
has seen it. He said he's seen it. He's a man of his
He
word.
never
That's
makes
fine.
it through a movie. He barely can stay awake for a movie most of the
No,
time.
I can stay awake.
Candace can't go through. I've never
I
watched
just watched
an entire
10
movie with Candace.
episodes of this show called what was it called? It's pretty good.
We
whatever
watched
it was.
10 episodes of it. So.
It's pretty good though.
It was what's the name of that show, Beck? Occupied. 10 episodes. It's pretty good.
Never heard of it.
Occupied.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you nothing to
About
watch
an
one night on
occupation?
Netflix, watch Occupied.
Every time I see Adam look out from the frame, I think he's up to something. He's got those like dog eyes from The Simpsons where he's like,
Right. But just to circle back on your question, Jeff, you said, is Khan a Sikh? And she kind of says, he looks like he's from the northern India region. A Sikh, perhaps. They're the most fantastic warriors, I think is the dialogue. And so I think we have to assume that he is, especially with his name, Khan Noonien Singh. But I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
with the last name Singh is Sikh.
Yeah.
why
But Ricardo
couldn't he just
Montalban
be
is
Mexican?
not. He could
Well,
be.
he's not. He's playing an Indian. He could be a Mexican in another movie, but not
They're
this one.
interchangeable. But this is,
Oh yeah, they're
Dark
clearly
skinned.
the same thing. But
you
anyway,
know, you see it a lot in movies where
He
Mexican.
kind of looks a little Indian though, but he looks more like a Hindu with no. They don't have facial hair.
I think we're getting dangerously close to the race card here. Let's move
Well,
on.
it's not really important, I guess, but
There was a series of books written after, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 90s.
Are they canon? Every time I say that with Dave, Dave's like eyes flare up. No,
like,
No, it wasn't a TV show and it wasn't a movie.
Anyway, it's Khan Noonien Singh, the eugenics wars. It takes you through the 90s, right? Yeah, his basically childhood to adulthood until he was exiled. Great books, totally recommend them. Takes you through his mother, who was a brilliant geneticist in India, and the whole goal to create this human race or superhuman race. And it was never made as a like to take over the world or a bad thing. It was really there to better humankind, and it just sort of got sidetracked, of course, with
yeah.
so maybe we'll get an anthology series about him one day.
Yeah.
I think part of our conversation tonight has to be about the augments, the eugenics wars, this whole history that they established here. The fact that this aired in 1967, but this is about the eugenics wars, which take place in the 1990s, which is 30 years after this airs. So
I lived through the whole thing. I don't even remember it.
Me too.
I don't remember the eugenics wars.
I was in high school, but I thought I would have remembered it.
I always thought the eugenics wars were like not like I always thought they were much later in the Star Trek timeline.
No, they're this time. But that's what's weird about the episode of Star Trek Voyager, where they go back to 1996 to deal with Henry Starling, because that is during the eugenics wars. But Los Angeles seems very much like Los Angeles.
Oh, that's the episode with Sarah Silverman in it.
Yeah, Sarah Silverman.
The two-parter, yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, but maybe it just wasn't. It didn't hit Los Angeles very hard, I guess. So
They didn't mention 2018 in that episode.
They do mention 2018. That was the year that's what the year they stopped using sleeper ships to travel around.
Oh, okay.
So it's also to be presumed that space travel progressed more so in that time period than it did in ours.
Well, they were going to the moon in 1969, so they probably thought by the 90s.
Yeah, we'll be going to like different parts of the solar system in 30 years, right? But
they probably thought we were going to have floating cars and shit too,
Yeah. Anyway, so when they're on the ship, Marla MacGyver's very bad at her job, which Kirk dresses her down for later because she's a historian, and this is like
she deserves it.
This is living history.
She did.
And she
I'm
was
not
like, well,
on her camp.
you're not in the Marla MacGyver's
I am not.
fan club. To Jeff's point, she's an interesting character, but she's also a frustrating character because she's very bad at what she does. And she's not she's not loyal. Well, she ultimately comes through and redeems herself a little bit, but she deserved to go to jail for everything that goes on in this.
Well, yeah, and Kirk reams her out after the first mission. He's like,
Yeah.
"You sucked. What happened there?"
Why are you so terrible?
Yeah, he's like, "Come on, your performance was, well, let's just say."
And I have to admit, I kind of like the fact that they put that in because, like, we usually see kind of like such a quasi, kind of quality vibe to Kirk. So it's kind of nice to see him dress people down and, be a dick like that.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like,
it's also nice to see that the other officers on the ship aren't these like perfect peons that just go about their business and everything they do is perfect. That they can make mistakes and they make choices and they can have consequences and it matters.
another problem I have with Discovery. Sorry, Adam.
It's okay. You know what? That dinner too. There was 2 officers there that we had no idea who they were.
Yeah.
Like it would have been cool if they just said, "And this is
They're the night shift.
night shift."
Better
Yeah.
question. Why don't at the dinner party with Khan and his gold thing, why do only some of them wear dress uniforms and the rest of them are wearing duty uniforms?
Unclear.
Yeah. Well, maybe
the girl,
maybe because the
Marla.
people that are maybe that shift is actually on duty, so they can run away for that, but they still got to run back to the.
My
The
only
next or
theory is that you have to be at least the rank of lieutenant commander because that's Scotty and McCoy are lieutenant commanders and they're wearing their dress uniforms.
That's a good
So,
theory.
I guess that's the only one, but it just seems odd to me that
Maybe
we
they
never
just didn't want to spend money on more dress uniforms.
and we never got to see a female variant of the dress uniform. I love those uniforms.
We know you're all about uniforms.
You love the dress uniform?
I think it complements the overall uniform theme. Yeah.
I don't mind the original series dress uniform. The next gen dress uniform I can't take.
Why? Because
They're not great. Yeah.
No, I don't like them either.
I like them.
Later on in the series, though, when they change them, they're not too bad.
They're
The white ones?
So,
I don't mind the white ones.
The white
I don't
ones
mind
are
the white
ugly.
ones.
They look like they're wearing.
The white
tuxedos.
ones are very predominant. Like,
I like the white ones. They look classy. They look.
I guess they were movies, right? They weren't in the series.
Yeah.
It was
And
just
them
no.
to
They
get
used them in
married.
Deep Space Nine a little bit, but
Oh, did they?
yeah, no, but like that whole gray strip they have going down here for everybody under captain.
We're not going to turn this into an hour of fucking uniform talking, are we?
No,
Like-
like Picard's looks decent enough, but anyway, let's get off this.
Let's get Dave off his tangent.
Yeah, but the augments, the eugenics wars, and Jody, Adam, you're big Enterprise guys.
Yes.
Well, Adam, you're a big Star Trek guy in general. So, but Enterprise is a controversial subject here on Live Long and Podcast sometimes. But
There's
we
no
saw that
controversy. You're just ignorant. But anyway, that's fine.
it's okay. It's okay. So you two,
Yep.
we saw that. Brent Spiner came back and he played the grandfather of not Khan Noonien Singh, but Noonien Soong, right? Who the inventor of data, and he was big into the creation of these the revival of the augments, I guess, from their original.
Yeah,
time
he was
in the
working with the
20s.
kids and all that. Yeah.
Right. And we saw that they were all just like little junior cons in that in all of that. That would take place about 100 years before this stuff does.
So it's
Right.
kind of the first kind of start. Well, technically, it takes place after because the eugenics wars happened in the 90s.
Right.
So
No, but it happened between, I guess, these events.
this was the resurgent of it. Yeah, but
I'm trying to
technically,
remember-
yeah, it was before that.
What the outcome of that was? Did they all die, all those augments, or did some of those people live?
It's been a while. I don't remember. Adam, you remember that?
I don't remember. But
Yeah.
I don't think they died. I think they were put somewhere.
Yeah, I think they
What I
were.
remember. Yeah, I'll have to look it
Right.
up.
But I guess I bring it up because it's just Kirk and Spock are completely oblivious to all of that too. They're not really up on any of this. It's all very confusing to them. There's a mystery to be solved here.
Well, we have to write off the fact that it's hard to make lore when you're the first. In
Show.
lore I mean as in lore, not the character lore. when you're really the first show out of the gate. Like it's hard. Enterprise had the benefit of having 4 series before it. So, well, if you count the animated, so with that, it's obviously they have a little bit more clearance, I guess.
Right. And in Deep Space Nine, they also had because we find out is there like a ringing?
I feel like that's dad.
Wasn't-
Everything's at Adam's house, man. All those weird noises come from Adam's house.
Sorry,
Yeah, I think the oven's done.
Kevin's done.
Yep. Or it's preheated.
Right, but every time they bring these people in, these genetically engineered people, they're always bad. They're always flawed. They always have.
I want to counter that. Are they, or is it just,
Or is it the perception?
the perception that regular people are, they're bad because we're not them.
In reality, Khan's trying to do what's best for his group.
Right.
No different than what Kirk would do.
Huh,
So in reality, who really is the bad guy here?
Well, that's why they're great adversaries.
No, and that's what the nice. There's a very nice contrast between the two of them.
It's not like he's fighting
but-
the Gorn. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, like this is a group of people who are cryogenically frozen in space who have now been woken back up, and they have just as many rights as Kirk does. That's really what it should have been, right? So now, obviously, there was a hostile intent there. I get that, but it's in reality he's trying to save his crew, right?
But he could have done both. But the thing is that these genetically engineered people, they want to conquer the non-genetically engineered people. That's the problem. That superior ambition breeds superior.
Well, if every time you're confronted by the norms, I guess we'll call them, they're always giving you shit. So, like, realistically, are you going to constantly be for them, or are you going to start going against them? It kind of goes both ways. Like, I get what you're saying, Dave, but what I'm trying to say here is that how bad is he really? He's really just trying to preserve his kind, right? That's no different than what Kirk's doing.
Did he throw Kirk?
Kirk has killed many people.
Would Kirk throw a guy in a decompression chamber to get him to do what he wants?
Depending on the event, I think he might.
Knowing
I
Kirk.
don't know. Huh?
Knowing Kirk, you never know. You can't. I wouldn't say Picard would do
Kirk
that.
has sacrificed many things. He's sacrificed ships. He's sacrificed people.
The only
Red
captain I
Bull.
can see doing that is Sisko.
Yeah, just throw him in the brig.
Obsession. Look at last week's episode. He was putting security guys down all the time. Like,
That's right. That's
All right. Well,
Preach.
Maybe you got a point there.
Preach. I like that.
Preach. Okay. So just philosophically,
Adam, the Star Trek Pope.
is it good that genetic engineering is outlawed, or should and the people who are genetically engineered are banned from serving in Starfleet?
Well, you can outlaw it all you want, but if they're already there, what are you supposed to do? Just go and kill everybody?
No, but you can ban them.
What? Is Kirk Hitler now? Like, come on.
Like Julian Bashir from Deep Space Nine is also genetically engineered, and
right.
so he's able to stay in Starfleet, but only because I guess Sisko pulls some strings, right? But normally they wouldn't be allowed to.
I think they should do the genetically engineered thing for people like Julian, because Julian was like going to be this dumb kid that was never going to amount to anything, wasn't he? Like, wasn't that his
Right.
story too?
Yeah, he was not born with genetic engineering. He was genetically engineered after the fact. But
He
Khan was
modified,
born.
Yeah.
Khan was born from selective breeding, but they put it all into the same box, into the same category.
What does that mean? Selective breeding, like these two match and it'll make like a perfect person?
no, he's created. He was created with all the bad stuff taken out. It's a fascinating question. I mean, and it goes on in pop culture. Remember Gattaca, another movie.
Yeah, I love Gattaca. Sure.
Yeah, great movie.
Yep.
And but the question is that okay, somebody came to you and said, okay, your kid has a 60% chance of having cancer. You don't take that gene out? Yep, take it out. Right? Is that genetic engineering? Yes, it is.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes.
Right?
So,
But we've done selective breeding for eons. Like, look at dogs. Dogs are a perfect example
they're
of
not
selective
people.
breeding. So,
well, we assign different moralities and laws and rights to animals than we do to people. So
Certain countries, maybe.
We might have
Some other
more
countries
intelligence, but we're
could
still
probably
animals,
try
guys. Like, let's move
Yeah,
on here. Like,
but in terms of how we judge the morality of those things, we eat animals, but we don't eat people. So
but
it's
the,
like,
but the judgment is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So it's, yeah, Kirk says, "Oh, Eugene, people are bad and they're gonna kill everybody and blah 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 blah," and Khan's just like, "Dude, I'm better than you, but I want to save my people."
we
like-
offer the world order.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I think this party's over.
Some might even say that in this episode, Kirk is like Hitler. He's trying to kill everyone.
Maybe Khan.
I'm going with the Kirk is Hitler vibe. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Maybe
with that.
not.
Right, but I think
he didn't blast them out the airlock. He put them in the Botany Bay and put them on that planet. And ultimately, it was a very humane way to end the show, and quick.
yeah, okay. So we talked about the dinner quite a bit. The fact that Khan hasn't kind of shown all his cards yet, but they're kind of they're starting to suspect what is going on here. Spock is starting to piece things together more than Marla MacGyver's is. He's doing more historical research than her, even though it's her job. And
well, we already know she's bad at it.
Right.
Well, the other thing too, Dave, is that he's not answering any questions. Everything is evasive. I'm not going to answer that question right now. I think
I'm tired. I have to have some rest.
Kirk was a great host. I mean, here, have all the library. You can read about the ship if you like, and you can anything you need. Here it is.
Here's our knowledge. Go to town.
Dad, was Kirk dumb to accept that Khan was too sick or too tired to answer his questions, but he wasn't too tired to read technical manuals?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit flawed.
That's because McCoy stands up for Khan for some unknown reason. Maybe because he just had a knife to his throat. I have no idea.
Yeah, I thought that was a little
Maybe
weak.
McCoy is secretly an augment.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Bashir was. So then with
Both
both
medical.
medical, if you're a doctor, maybe
Don't
that's the
trust
only
the
way.
doctors.
Might be
So-
onto something here.
So because Khan's able to study these technical manuals, and because he's not only physically stronger than everybody else, but he's also smarter than everybody else, he can learn a ton of knowledge, and he learns how to work the Enterprise basically, without just by reading the how-to manuals, the PCs for dummies, perhaps. But that's not enough. He also needs. I don't know if he needs MacGyver's, but she comes to him. It's not like he does anything. He just kind of takes advantage of the fact that she's infatuated with him, I guess. And
yeah, she's infatuated because she's a historian and he's history, right?
Right.
So,
and she also admires his feats or his history, right? And so in this whole scene after the dinner where he's throwing her out and he's just how he completely gaslights her into submissiveness. Right?
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was like watching ping pong in words.
I think that was before dinner, though. Wasn't it?
It's after dinner.
Ooh.
It's after dinner because she comes to apologize, which I also thought was weird.
No, I think she came to him to accompany him to dinner, and they had a whole conversation. She ended up down on her knees.
Is that after dinner or before? It's when he's wearing.
Actually,
the
I think
dinner.
Adam's right. I think it is before dinner.
It's
Yeah.
before dinner.
Either way, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But I don't think it changes anything.
I thought it was.
I
after
thought it was
dinner.
after, but I could
Yeah,
be
I'm
wrong.
pretty sure it was after dinner. But
Yeah, the more I
after
think of it, I think Adam's right.
we should look that up.
Anyway,
right. But after that dinner, and after he kind of is all dramatic, that they like, oh well, guess what? He's the last of the Supermen to fall, and guess what? Because he says his name is Khan right at the beginning. But anyway, this is when they finally he's definitely Khan Noonien Singh. He's bad guy. Put a security guard, and after this, Khan also dresses into a Starfleet uniform for 5 minutes. Why?
Yeah. No.
yeah, that I didn't get. I'm wondering if there's a missing scene or something.
Yeah.
Did anybody get an idea on that one?
No, I didn't either.
Because usually the guys who wear those red shirts get killed.
Right. Or at least
Maybe it was foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was foreshadowing command because command turns to red and he wanted to command.
maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe he was gonna it was part of his escape plan. I don't know, but
When I thought of actually Q when that happened, and how much it angered Picard every time he put on a uniform because he hadn't earned it, And I think he was trying to goad Kirk at the same time. Like, you don't belong in that uniform.
Hey, there you go. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a
That's
theory.
probably
Yeah,
true.
for sure.
Yeah, he should
Could be,
provoke
yeah.
him.
Or he was like, I am Ricardo
thought
Montalban.
of
I
it.
need 4 costume changes in this episode.
He had more costume changes than any guest star in Star Trek history.
I think so, because he's the outfit he
had
has in the
5.
beginning, the hospital
5.
outfit. 5, yeah, 5 in this whole thing.
Yeah, he had the most of any guest in a Star Trek original episode.
Which I want just a very quick opinion from Dave on something. What did you think of the women augment uniforms that they had? Like, did they make any sense at all to you? Because they didn't even look like the other uniforms.
Well, they only made sense in that they looked like this. Here, I'm just gonna show this again. Wait, where?
Do we have the woman one?
Well, this is
Well,
what
that's the man one.
but it's pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much like the women version looks like this, a little bit, and then these red jumpsuits that the guys wear are closer to the Starfleet uniforms, really.
Anyway,
but
very weird. I thought. But
They wouldn't at the time they wouldn't allow those women's uniforms to be shown on TV. They were almost like censored off. They did show one, but the rest were a lot of it was cut.
there were some very questionable outfits in this series, though.
yeah, sometimes the costumes
that
are
don't leave a lot to the imagination.
yeah, just a little bit weird. And then this is basically the point in the story where Khan, he does his little, his little, whatever the hell it was. I guess his little
Tai Chi move or whatever.
Tai Chi moves, and then he's able to open the door, the turbolift door. He quickly takes out that security guard with the big bald spot real easily. The phaser goes flying. He's got a huge bald spot.
Not sure how that's relevant. But
I noticed it. I was like, this guy, he must have joined Starfleet late.
he's too old to be guarding somebody.
Yeah, it was just like there wasn't a lot.
Spot. People
Yeah,
bald at 20, man. Like,
well, I didn't.
I didn't either, but
yeah, big
some
bald
people
spot. Anyway, then MacGyver's is showing how she's involved in this plot. They take over. They transport her over. They get all the other Supermen and Superwomen in their flashy, not so flashy uniforms, and then they get them eventually with the suffocating them on the bridge because they're able to take over the entire ship. And so Kirk, Spock, all of them, so Khan could have let them all die, but he doesn't, right?
No.
And then I guess they had to go get them after they all passed out, and then they brought them back down. Is that because we don't see that?
But that's kind of my point. My point is, the guy's really just doing what he needs to do to keep his people alive. Like, he's not killing anybody. He's just beating the shit out of people and leaving them for a while, and they're fine. He takes out enough oxygen for everybody to pass out, but not enough to die. Like, there's obviously some sort of compassion with Khan. I figure, anyway.
Well, yeah, this is before he's crazy movie Khan, that we'll come to know. Yeah, I know.
Well,
yeah, you're right. He has...
If I was sent onto a desert planet and had to stay there for 30 some odd years, and pissed off too.
Planet when he was left. Just hold
What's
on.
that?
It wasn't a desert planet when they were left.
That's true.
True. Yeah, we never get to really see what the planet looked like before the disaster because what happened? So yeah, and then basically the only reason Kirk is able to take back the ship is because Marla MacGyver flips back and because right, she had to
do something useful in this episode.
Right.
That's
But
really
if
what
not,
it
Kirk dies, probably Spock dies. I don't know. So it's whatever. And then this is where they turn it around. Now there's the fight in engineering, which is part of this little scene Jeff gave me for Christmas one year, where Kirk just beats beats Khan.
That's a great fight, by the way.
With a pipe.
That's a great fight. Did anybody notice how much dead space there was in that set, though? There's a lot of floor. You'd think in an engineering type environment there would be more stuff around.
Yeah, not in that spot.
That final fight, I don't know if you guys
parked a shuttlecraft in there.
Whenever they went to a wide shot in that fight in the engineering, it was clearly 2 stuntmen.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah,
I'm
expect, right?
I guess
you got to remember we weren't watching in high def in the 60s. That looked like Kirk and Khan.
We're lucky to have any def at all.
But it looked like. But what I'm saying is, those characters look like that when on the far shots in our lo-fi television.
Oh yeah.
You know, it definitely looked fine. Like now, we can
we
clearly
didn't get
see
a color
that's not.
television until
that's not-
1971.
Yeah, that's not Shatner. We clearly can see that when we're watching it on Netflix. But
Yeah,
When I watched this, it was black and white.
Dave, can you put this on? Because it's my favorite move Kirk does in the episode. I have no idea why he was going for here or why he thought this was a good idea.
he was going for
reminds
some
me of
kind
that. Reminds me of the Bond villain, one of the Bond villains from Goldeneye.
In what way
Yeah.
is that going to
On
end
a top.
well for Kirk? You know?
Yeah, he's likely to break his fingers in the cage.
Yes.
He's
Well,
he's
and who hangs off of a fence like that? Like, come on.
Yeah. So.
right because like you put your hand into like a hockey cage, like
Guys, I
or-
called this earlier in this episode, man. Kirk's gay for him. I'm telling you right now.
This was there you go.
He was presenting right there. That's what he was doing.
Right before he beat him with a pipe.
Right before he beat him. Well, beating of it with a pipe, that might be a metaphor. I've had too many Heinekens.
Oh yeah, Jeff, I just saw that down there. He uses that as like he flips him over.
I know. It's like a wrestling move.
Like
Yeah.
Kirk should be completely outmatched in this fight,
He should be.
Oh,
right?
100%. 100%, yeah.
and he somehow gets out of it winning. I think I don't know.
Kirk's head should have been like in a console
Because he gets
by
the
the end
pipe.
of this. Like,
Kirk knew where the pipe was that no one else, that the other guy didn't know.
You didn't look at that in the technical manual.
I must have missed that section.
Skip that chapter.
If that happened to Benedict Cumberbatch Con, he just would have disarmed, like he would have beat the crap out of Kirk. You know, like
Right. I do want
Yeah.
to talk about the Benedict.
I will say he was definitely a more brutal con
Mhm.
in the remake. Yeah.
he crushed what's his name's head, RoboCop.
Yeah.
Peter Weller.
Right.
Weller.
You should have let them sleep.
Wow, Adam, I think we did that in stereo. Peter Weller. It's like we're on Jeopardy.
Enterprise's own Peter Weller.
Hey. I like Peter Weller.
But I think that fight's pretty epic. And then just to talk about the ending quickly, because it's very quick. It's this little hearing where Kirk gets out his little bell, ding, 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 and then he.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Like, I guess
I
that's what you do.
I don't get Bones in this scene. Just the way he's sitting, like he's so like for the most part, he's like kind of like got this weird little smile on his face.
I think he probably had to have a dump.
Yeah.
I think secretly Bones wanted Khan to take over. Maybe Bones is like, you know what? I'm tired of Kirk's shit. I'm tired of him always fucking up. I'm tired of him always constantly trying to get me into the goddamn teleporter. I'm done.
Yeah, he thought Kirk and Spock
So
were
he's going to Spock for advice.
Yeah, he's always going to Spock. Spock and him are pals, apparently. You know,
Right. Yeah,
Jealousy.
but just Kirk's decision.
Does he-
He's like, yeah. Good.
Sorry, but just a question. Does the girl go onto the planet with Khan too?
Yes.
She goes. That's
Yeah.
why that's why the Wrath of Khan is what it is, because she dies on this planet.
She
Right?
dies.
And so-
she dies.
Superior person.
We have
Called-
to talk about Kirk's decisions here. He decides to basically, he's like, hey, Marla MacGyvers, you can get a court martial or you can go with Khan. And I don't know. So you're not really surprised she goes with Khan. But then he says that putting any of those people in a Federation rehabilitation colony or something along those lines, I guess what their version of a jail, is a waste. So they drop him off on this kind of unhospitable planet, SETI Alpha 5, which we'll come to know in the movie Wrath of Khan. This is SETI Alpha 5. And then basically what Khan is mostly upset about 15 years later is that Kirk just never came back to kind of check on them, right? And then Marla dies on this planet.
That's
yeah.
He never came back. He said he would. I guess he didn't say that, but apparently that was implied.
Right.
You know, even the comment was made. I wonder what it's going to look like in 20 years. It was nicely set up. You know.
Well, they said 100 years, and so this would have been a great if they hadn't made the movie Wrath of Khan. I'm sure that Next Gen
Should have
would
been
have
a next gen episode, yeah.
it would have been a Next Gen episode or a Deep Space Nine episode, because they would have went back there 100 years later.
Imagine Picard and Khan together.
Yeah,
That would have been amazing.
be like Grandpa Khan by then. But yeah, or maybe not. I don't know how. Maybe age is slower because he's genetically engineered or whatever. But did Kirk make?
Doesn't
Did
lose the
Kirk
titties, I can tell you that.
deserve what he got in terms of? Well, okay. What in Khan's revenge that gets the Chekhov's captain killed, basically in that movie, and Spock dies, of course. Yeah, he comes back to life, but he did die. So I guess my question is Kirk sort of negligent in one or more ways?
I think.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Adam.
All right, I think he's negligent as far as like marooning him there was not negligence. Like to me, that's fine. There's no way they're going to leave the planet. But the whole, somebody in Starfleet should have come back.
Right. Lower Decks touched on this, right? Because Lower Decks says we go to these places and then we never follow up again, right? And so this is kind of what Star Trek's flaw is, if they have one, is that things are episodic, but then they're episodic, so
they should have put Khan on that damn planet with Red Hour. That's what they should have did. He would have been perfect in there.
Right. But you know that little pendant that Khan wears in the movie? Right, on his neck.
I remember some pendant. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like a Starfleet emblem, right? And it's presumably it comes from Marla MacGyver's.
Ah, I never put that together.
Right, but I don't know where she got it because
I just thought it was like a spoils of war kind of thing.
No,
But yeah,
no, I
makes
don't think so. Yeah,
But yeah, where would she have gotten it?
right.
'Cause
Well, I
they
don't know.
have
Maybe
they
it's
have
not
the-
clear.
Maybe from graduating
material
officer
emblems.
school.
Maybe. Right. And the ending here is that Khan he says, "Do you ever read Milton, Captain?" And
Right.
Kirk's just like, "Aha, Milton." And is Milton a Scotsman?
No,
that
an
why-
Englishman.
Oh, okay. So because Scotty apologizes for not knowing who Milton, but the quote is, "It's better to rule in hell than to be a servant on earth," or something like that, along those lines. So that Khan was going to start this whole new world. He was going to, even though it was going to be not a nice planet to live on. Why can't you just drop him off on any planet? Like, can't you drop him off on tropical desert planet or tropical island?
Should took him to Ryza.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Khan, go get your screw on. It's fine.
Put him
He'll be
put him
fine.
in Rigel 12 and mining that mining planet.
Yeah, that
Okay.
that little rock
Why-
monster get pissed off.
Why does Kirk give Marla the choice? Why is that? Seems like a very military, unstarfleet thing to do. To let somebody that
Well,
committed
because you're basically
treason-
saying go AWOL or face your punishment. Like that's
Right.
really what he said, right?
He took.
right, but
He basically gave the problem away. Like I don't need to deal with this. You go away.
Yeah.
Well,
doesn't
let's be
seem
honest.
like-
she's clearly a hindrance, but
Yeah,
does she
seems
deserve
like
that?
that would be against protocols, and Spock was right there.
But this gets back to what I said earlier, which is Kirk does kill people. And he does it usually for the best intentions, but he does kill people. Or he at least gives them some sort of punishment that makes them die eventually. Like the guy's not like without fault, and that's fine. You wouldn't expect somebody to be perfect in that situation, but that's why I'm still back on the philosophy of, Khan isn't really that bad of a guy. Like he was just trying to protect himself.
There you go. All right. Well, Jeff, you got some fun facts for us?
Fun facts with Jeff.
A few. I'll pull them up here. One sec. I did see one that was very interesting. Okay, so being a first season episode, Chekhov does not appear. Nevertheless, Chekhov does appear in the film Wrath of Khan, in which
knows him.
Khan not only meets but instantly recognizes him. Many
Yeah.
fan theories subsequently try to explain where Chekhov could have been off screen during this episode. Sorry. That would cause Khan to remember him. Walter Koenig himself came up with a story, which he likes to recite at conventions, that Khan, during the events of Spacey, desperately needed to go to the bathroom, but the only toilet he could find was occupied, and when it was open, Chekhov walked out, and Khan resolved never to forget Chekhov's face. The Wrath of Khan novelization by Vonda and McIntyre does officially explain that Chekhov was working in engineering when Khan began his rebellion there, and most of that happened off camera. And it was because of Chekhov's valiance in insisting that he was promoted to the bridge for the series. That's why he was promoted for the second season. So there's a whole kind of like retcon. Maybe it's not canon, maybe it isn't, Dave. Story of what Chekhov was up to during this episode.
Well, we
Doesn't sound
know
like it was canon.
it's canon that he recognizes them, and so it's presumable that Chekhov was there because that's the only way he could know him.
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Ricardo Montalban plays a character who is familiar with the first chapter of John Milton's Paradise Lost. Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. Oddly enough, that same literary passage contains the word Montalban. This name, which is old-fashioned Spanish for White Mountain, appears in the poem in context where an angel versus demon war is compared to a list of great military actions in Earth history. Montalban was a battle site during the Franco-Moorish Wars of the early Middle Ages.
The Franco-Moorish Wars, you say?
Boorish.
Oh,
some
Boorish.
history there.
God, Dave.
French,
Boorish,
French
come on.
basically Muslim.
Okay, so Gene Roddenberry questioned Kerry Wilbur's notion of wasting a high-tech spaceship and expensive resources on criminals, just like Kirk and Spock came up with the same question in the story itself, and came up with a concept of a bunch of Napoleons self-exiling in space. I guess they didn't like it.
That's basically what it is, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was Napoleon a good guy, Jeff?
I mean, it depends who you ask.
And which side of history you're on.
Yeah. Ricardo Montalban called his role as Khan wonderful, saying it was well written, it had an interesting concept, and I was delighted it was offered to me.
Okay.
And
Classy dude.
the main cast said they were enthusiastic about working with Ricardo Montalban. DeForest Kelly said, I enjoyed working with Ricardo the best. I was privileged. He is a marvelous actor.
I would agree.
Following positive feedback from the producers and the network regarding James Doohan, this was the first episode to feature a more prominent role for Scotty.
Was it? I didn't realize that. Okay.
Well, he
He was
definitely
more-
was there. You saw a lot of them.
I guess he was just more background up because this is late in season 1. So Scotty, I guess.
Yeah, this is almost the end of season 1.
Okay, so this episode inspired 2 Star Trek films, which we already talked about, so we'll leave that one out. In the original script,
I think we lost him.
Tau Ceti star system examination of the starship reveals a damaged steering system, which has sent the Botany Bay careening off course into due space. So they had a different kind of like idea for the first part of the show. So the script featured a female character named Baker, who was a friend of Marla McGivers. Her scene was filmed, and Baker was played by Barla Baldwin, who previously appeared as Angela Martine in Star Trek Balance of Terror and Star Trek Shore Leave. But the scene was deleted. Several sources still claim Baldwin as appearing in this episode as Baker. So I think there were quite a few scene cuts, guys. That's why there's so many
weird things,
costume changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it almost feels like this should have been a double episode.
Yeah, I can see that. 'cause I
Double
feel like
episodes weren't really that popular then, though, were they?
The only time they ever did it in original series was the Menagerie, right?
Yeah.
Or the Cage, or whichever one is the one with Kirk and Pike.
Well, the Menagerie is the 2-parter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cage is the original.
Ricardo Montalban, he liked working with that actress. He worked. They were husband and wife in a 1961 episode of Bonanza, and they were also together in an episode in 1982 of Fantasy Island. The same two. So they worked a lot together. That actress who played Marla McGivers and Ricardo Montalban. They played in at least three other shows. Well, 2 other shows.
I didn't know that.
Bonus fun fact with Ted.
Or was that on the fun facts, Jeff?
I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't got to it yet.
I'm just doing some investigating of my own here.
Stealing the thunder, I think. He's got some competition now, Jeff.
One, I don't think he had that one.
I don't think I did.
I was exclusive.
The Saurian brandy container makes an appearance in this episode, Dave. The distinctive shape bottle was actually a modified George Dickel 1964 commemorative edition of Powderhorn whiskey bottle.
There was a Saurian on last week's episode of Discovery.
I'm sorry.
All right, and I think I'm going to leave with this one. In Star Trek: The Next Generation, A Matter of Time, Captain Jean-Luc Picard and his crew are discussing the possibility that someone born in their lifetime might become the next Adolf Hitler or Khan Singh. This suggests that Hitler and Khan have very similar reputations. If Khan's memory was so monstrous, it is very strange that Kirk and company welcomed Khan cordially at first, even after they learned who he was. Note, it could have been due to the events in this episode that brought Khan Singh's reputation to the Star Trek universe pop culture forefront. So he might have been referencing, the movie or this episode.
Right. Yeah. Like Khan's relative villainy, I think, is kind of an interesting thing to debate. Like, how villainous or not is he? He's definitely an adversary. Okay, let's get into ratings. I'm going to start with Jody.
You always start with me now.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this one... You know what? It's still not a balance of terror for me. I'm going to do a 9.
Okay. Adam?
9.5. I loved it. I love the character. I love what it set off, and fantastic. It was great.
Dad?
I would think a little lower than 9. I would probably go 8.7.
All right. Jeff?
10.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
You've never given anything.
Oh, that's a first for Jeff.
That's a first for anybody in the show.
Jeff
Yeah.
doesn't give out 10s. No,
I gave
it's
it
not
10.
the first.
I gave it 10 to
Dave
Mirror
gave
Mirror.
Balance of Terror a 10.
And
You gave it 10, did you?
and to
Dave's
Mirror
given out
Mirror.
a couple 10s, actually.
Couple 10s. Is this a 10? I think it's this episode is almost worthy just because it has this fantastic sequel in the movie. But I think if you just want to look at this episode in a vacuum, to me, it's at best like an 8 or an 8.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But if
What did you give it, Dave?
8.5.
Okay.
Dave gave it the lowest,
Yeah.
I gave it the lowest. What the heck?
which is really odd for Optimist Dave.
Well, I do like the episode, but do I like it as much as Mirror Mirror? Definitely not. For
Mirror
me.
Mirror is a better episode. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So it's.
So,
I think
even
it's
though
just
I gave it the same amount.
you can't not talk about this episode without talking about Wrath of Khan. So I guess that's just kind of how it is. But
The only thing that bothers me about this entire episode is how they handle Khan originally. Like, just all of a sudden opening up everything to him. It's like, oh, here you go. Here's the full schematic. And then the other thing is obviously the historian. Those are the two that really burned it for me. It would have been a perfect episode.
yeah. All right. So that's a 9.1 average from the 5 of us. It has an 8.8 on IMDb, and that combined is about a 9. So a 9 out of 10. Pretty solid. Dad, you have
So
something?
combined episode though, like, is that the highest we've had?
Is 9 the highest? It's tied
Yeah.
with Balance of Terror. We have a
Balance of Terror.
9.1 on The City of the Edge of Forever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Among our group, the
did-
9.1 is we had a 9.4 for Mirror Mirror, a 9 on Doomsday Device, a 9.1 here.
So it's up there on one of the top.
It's
episodes.
it's up there. It's easily top 5 of the ones
Yeah.
we've watched. So what is next, Dad?
Well, the next is going to be the very next episode in that season, which is A Taste of Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
Season, because did this come on after you watched this one and you were like, let's just go to the next one?
No, but I've seen it. Yeah,
Okay.
well, it did actually come on right after, but I've seen it before, but it's a good one.
Okay, so this side of paradise, episode 25. Oh, this one. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I just looked at it.
With the flowers.
You know it?
Yeah. This is not gonna. I'm just gonna give you a preview here. It's not gonna get a 9 from me.
It's not going to be getting a 9.
It's not getting a 9.
Well, let's see.
Can't win them all, I guess.
Can't win them all. This side of
Still no
paradise.
space hippies.
There's some,
Everything's better
there's
than
some
that.
cool costumes. So we can just look for
Yes.
Yeah. The exosuit. Okay, so that
I think we
is-
can all agree, though, these episodes are still better in Discovery, right?
Not according to Adam.
Looking at him.
I think so. I think it depends on what we're comparing to what.
you can't-
Adam, when are we going to do our Enterprise rewatch? we gotta convert one of these guys.
Discovery first, and then I'll be happy to. I can't do more than 2.
Yeah, we got to get through.
Yeah.
We got to get
Oh,
Adam
no,
through
we gotta get rid
Discovery.
of some of these. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we're slowly knocking them off here on original series, and what are we at now?
Well, we got most of the 3rd season we haven't even touched.
So next week will be our 30th episode of this podcast, of this Wednesday night podcast, which is pretty crazy. So
Ooh.
that's so we're almost halfway through the.
So we've
episodes.
done 30 episodes, Dave, out of how many? 70?
79.
79.
Almost
So
halfway.
we got 10 more episodes to get over the halfway point.
Right. And there's definitely episodes I've never seen. I've figured this out.
Are we
So-
literally planning on doing every one of these episodes?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
oh
I
yeah.
don't know if I can.
And then
take
we're
that.
starting into this Enterprise with Adam.
All right. Well,
Are you
Dad,
going to join us on that, Ted?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
yeah,
Discovery. I'd be happy to do that.
I'm
gonna
curious.
join.
to
I'm going to
see-
join, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go on that for my first episodes outside of
Honestly,
The original
guys, I
series.
get nothing but shit from all of these people except for Adam about Enterprise. I get nothing but shit. Kevin, if Kevin was on here, he'd be giving me shit right now for even
Yeah.
saying the word.
Yeah,
in the
he
wrong
doesn't like the
context.
show.
Tell you it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
tells
he's like,
you-
that doesn't exist. I'm like, it's canon.
It exists, but only some of it's good. That's how I feel. So it's.
I wouldn't disagree with you.
Yeah, it's the 3rd and 4th seasons pretty good. The first 2
Very
seasons.
solid.
Yeah. So but Dad, that's the Star Trek show that you're going to watch next.
Well, isn't that the first one?
You're going to join us, though,
It
Dave.
is. It's chronologically, yes. It happens before Kirk, so it's a prequel.
Yeah, I have to get back to chronological.
He's not gonna like Enterprise.
Yeah,
I
well, I
think
have
he
to
will.
go in order, Dave.
He will.
And it's the way it
I
is.
think
you
he
know,
will.
you just
It's got a
start
lot
at
of the quirks
beginning.
that the original series
Not
had.
in order though. You've already watched out of order.
This whole
It's not-
podcast we
Well, I
watched.
know,
out of order.
The best thing about Enterprise is that it's not as all professional and clean cut as all the other series. There's a lot of stupid mistakes. There's a lot of dumb things that happen, and it just shows you, the immaturity of the crew.
And
It's
the
great.
captain.
Yeah,
And
well,
the
you got to
captain.
remember,
He
it's
is the
before
worst.
this
by far.
crew.
Archer fucks up a lot.
The original series is like the best crew ever, and then see their it's before that.
There is no Star Trek captain that is worse than Archer. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Well, I don't know.
Ooh.
Janeway's a close second. I hate
Janeway's
Janeway.
fine.
Janeway's much. better.
Janeway's terrible. She takes credit for everyone else, but she never does anything right.
does it all. Okay, don't
killed
you talk
Tuvok.
with Jane. There she is.
I am talking about
Yeah.
Janeway. She's terrible.
All right. Enough. We have to end the show. So thanks everybody. This has been a longer one, but we had a lot of fun talking about Space Seed and this part 1, the prequel to Wrath of Khan, if you will. We're gonna be here to talk about This Side of Paradise next week. Here on Live Long and Podcast, we do several Star Trek podcasts throughout the week. On Tuesdays, we do Deep Space Nine. We're just getting through the midway part of the 2nd season. Here on Original Series, it's a random original series episode every week until we eventually transition into Enterprise. And then on Thursdays, we do Star Trek Discovery, which we're going into the 3rd episode of the 3rd season tomorrow night. Adam and I are part of that podcast, along with Michael Chan, my wife Jane, and I think Jaemeel is going to be joining us for starting this week as well.
Next week's not
You had to pull
Paradise,
him in
Dave.
on that crap.
Well, we'll see. He's
Dave, next week's not a Taste of Paradise. It's Taste of Armageddon.
Taste of Armageddon.
is it? Oh, it's a Taste of Armageddon is what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing we cleared that up. All right.
There's 2
Taste of
different
Arm-
ones.
Okay. All right. So we'll be doing a Taste of Armageddon, and on this Friday night, we're doing Star Trek Radio Theater. I don't have a poster to show you. It's a smaller cast, but we're going to be doing the Next Generation episode called Metamorphosis, or is it Transfigurations? I keep
Is
messing
that the
this
one
up.
with Jody where he thinks he's an animal, or he is an animal?
No, it's the one with Beverly Crusher where she's got like
Oh,
like a spaceman who turns into a piece of light or something. He ascends.
I want to do that Jody one.
Oh, he's the guy that can like heal and everything.
Yes, we're doing
That's a
that
good
one.
episode.
I want to do the
It's okay.
Jody.
You want to do the Jody one where he turns into a big blue veiny
The
monster? thing?
guy who the blacklight one.
The
The blacklight monster.
Where like
Yeah,
half
Blacklight
the
Jody one.
episode's blacklight.
And
Yeah.
then I just
where
wanna
you,
go,
where you can't
"Coolant
speak anymore. Yeah, you just say Coolant League, even though he can't talk. So check out all of our Star Trek content here on Live Long and Podcast. Also, our other channel is Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. Jeff and I are going to be covering the finale of Big Brother 22 tonight. We're going on late because global TV in Canada sucks, but we are.
What are you
going
gonna do when that show ends? Like,
We're
do you
we're
have
just gonna-
something else lined up, or
No, not yet. Like we're gonna take a couple weeks off after this Big Brother. It's been 30. We did 36 podcasts in a row.
Wow.
I know. So we're
We didn't.
getting on-
No, we didn't. No, we didn't, Dave. We didn't do the recap of the recap show.
That would have been 37. So,
That's right. It wasn't in
Anyway.
a row.
yeah. Anyway, so
36 picks in a row.
So we'll be on Super Mater Brothers tonight after 11 o'clock to talk about who won Big Brother 22. And our other channel is called Trivial Debates, where we argue about movies, sports, TV, and more. We're doing an episode this Saturday. A special.
they didn't
Halloween-
invite me because they were worried.
Well, you win all the time, Jody. So it was.
I
but
know.
yeah, we
I
had
was
Jane.
banned.
We got Jane hosting, my wife Jane, and we got Jerry McRae returning since episode 1.
Awesome.
I think he's only in this one because he knows you're not Jody. He's too afraid.
Clearly.
Right. And so we
Jeff's
got
not scared of me, but the rest of them are.
no, Jeff's not. And Chris Seymour and Jeff. So we're gonna see how that play out. Jeff, it's all Jane gave me the Halloween questions today, so I think you guys are gonna like those. And check all that out on
I will
Saturday.
definitely watch.
All right,
Jerry is the Jody of that episode you watch.
You know what? He's a very good stand-in. I'm very happy to have him.
yeah, he's good. I was like, we gotta get you back in, Jerry. All right, so thank you,
Absolutely.
Adam. I'll talk to you tomorrow night. Talk to you, Jeff, in a couple hours. Jody, thank you. And my
Jody, I'll talk to you whenever I care.
I guess when we talk, and my dad, I whenever we talk. Okay, so have a
Okay.
good one.